Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy Inc. My name is Wyeth, and today we're going to be checking out Defiance of the Fall, Book 1, written by JF Brink. I'm incredibly impressed with Book 1 so far, and I'm really looking forward to where the first Defier is going to take this series. So all y'all are aware, I'm going to go ahead and give a spoiler-free summary of the book so far for those of you who have not taken the chance to read it yet. And after that, I'm going to be going into the deep dive for those of you who have checked out Book 1, where we're going to be picking certain pieces of it apart, analyzing it, and making predictions for the future. The author of this litRPG is known as the First Defier, or if you were to go by his Christian name, I believe it's JF Brink, and the narrator for the audiobook is Pavi Pachko. I have to admit the author and the narrator have both done a wonderful job immersing me in the new world of the multiverse. This book starts out with our main protagonist, Zach Atwood, who's a young man in his late 20s or early 30s, leading a pretty subdued life as someone who works as a marketing analyst, I believe. He has a new girlfriend of the last 3 months, Hannah, and they, as well as some of her friends, have gone on a camping trip. Zach was tasked with obtaining some firewood, which is where this book starts out, and suddenly his vision goes black, and he's greeted with a very monotone voice informing him that he is rolling for his life. Similar to D&D, where you have to make a roll of luck in this case, and if the roll does not go his way, it looks like the consequences for him is going to be very grim. As he is the protagonist, you can imagine that he ends up winning this roll and gaining a little power along the way, but is returned to his world with a few changes. What I really appreciate about this litRPG, taking it in a different direction from many others, is he's not being transferred to another world with magic. In this series, that monotone voice that spoke to him early on informs him that actually the Earth has been introduced to the multiverse and is no longer just Earth. It has combined Earth with 4 different planets, and this is punctuated when he looks up into the sky and sees 2 suns. Without jumping too farther into the details, Zach is tasked with obtaining power through strife. That monotone voice, otherwise known as the system, has done this so that it can create more powerful beings and basically give them the opportunity to advance as a species. To gain that power, you have to go through intense battle. Basically, you can consider it like video games where you gain some levels or experience once you have defeated an enemy. And oh boy, does Zach have to take on quite a few enemies. It appears that the woods that he was surrounded by has now turned into an island, and he's being forced into situations defending his territory as well as killing the demons that have cropped up. JF Brink, the author, has really done something interesting here, like I mentioned earlier, with not just transporting Zach to another world, but actually combining multiple worlds into one, though he has not traveled far from some other very generic lit RPG tropes. Unlike the Wandering In series, which I just got done reviewing, the stats and the level ups are in the forefront of this book, opposed to taking the back seat. You are constantly updated on Zach's progress, whether that be with his skills or with the cosmic power, otherwise known as magic, and it can definitely take you out of the story. To play devil's advocate, on the other hand, I am very interested in seeing Zach's level of power and how his actions actually helps him grow stronger. That's the basis of this series after reading Book 1, that in this new world, which is a combination of 4 others now, no longer are you going to be grandstanding on family names or really caring about who has the most money or prestige. The new doctrine is who has the power to take what they want. And I can imagine going further in the series that this is going to be very prevalent. All in all, I've very much enjoyed reading Defiance of the Fall so far, and I hope y'all feel free to check it out. I do think JF Brink is really creating something very cool here, and to give him credit where credit is due, I'm just reviewing book 1, but it appears that there's 9 books out currently, with the finale being the 10th, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. With that though, he started this series in 2021, I believe, or 2020. These litRPG writers / web serial writers that have cropped up in the last decade or two are doing something truly incredible. They are putting out such a large quantity of work so quickly that it is extremely impressive. I have to say, to be able to write 9 books in 9 years is impressive compared to regular authors. To do it in less than 3, I'm just completely blown away. This series is not going to fall short on quality either. Yes, it does get a little repetitive with some of the grind scenes where he's gaining power and basically just going from fight to fight to fight. But at the same time, JF Brink is making it abundantly clear what Zach's priorities are and propelling the story further through plot. I'm about to jump into the deep dive, so if you haven't read it out, feel free to check this book out. You can get it on Audible or look for it online. I'm gonna have the website in my description, and I hope that you pick this one up. All right, let's jump into the spoilers. So far, I'm very impressed. I have gotten a little bit further into book 2, but I'm going to keep this conversation on book 1. Zach, aka the Hatchet Man, or otherwise known as Super Brother Man, has been really impressive as a character. I did think that he acclimatized to his new surroundings incredibly quickly, though I'm speaking from a place of ignorance, not having to kill to survive and living completely alone in the wilderness, so I can't really call it as I see it because I don't see it in this case. Jumping back into the events that occurred in book 1, it really does appear that it was split into 2 different parts. Really what I mean by that is Zach is trying to complete 2 missions, and the first mission being to stop the incursion. Obviously, since all of us have read the book, he has the opportunity to do so, and after that, it appears that the end of the book is just him defending his base from the oncoming monsters. Though we don't get to see the end of that mission, seeing as he's still fighting the waves at the end of book 1, it very much did feel like it was split into 2 parts. We are learning about the new world along with Zach pretty steadily, and I do like this. Oftentimes you'll have authors that just go information overload and just dump all this exposition on you, just trying to get you acclimatized to the world itself. I have heard other booktubers can appreciate this. One example being, if you don't define the magic system early, you can often have a rabbit pulled out of a hat, or basically the author writing a loophole when they get stuck at a certain part later on in the series. And yes, I hate that just as much as everyone else does. At the same time, information overload can just be crushing and definitely take readers out of the story. We're not getting that here. Zach is slowly learning about the system, whether it be his brief conversations with the system before it starts ignoring him. I thought that was very funny. His brief conversation with Abby the Eye, one of the stargazers, or I'm guessing the wardens of the system. I'll go ahead and think of them as space police / administrators. And then finally, once he comes to somewhat of a truce / agreement with the demons. Speaking of the demons, I did really enjoy the snippets we get from their perspectives. As a reader, kind of get more of the lay of the land than Zach does. It is definitely a first person, and 99% of the book is coming from Zach's perspective. So that 1% is really great as a reader for us to experience. We are not only seeing that the demons are also slightly relatable. Yes, they're filled with greed in this case, but you know, as human beings, we can't really say too much about that. They have their own ambitions as well as their own strides to become successful and more powerful. And so far, I've been thoroughly impressed. When the demon general betrayed his general's name right here, second's name right here, I hope you can forgive me for not remembering. I loved it. It showed that he's not only pretending to be this pompous character, but he's doing cutthroat activities, almost quite literally, to get ahead and further advance himself. And he sees Zack as a potential ally. Once he forms a bit of an alignment with Zack, though it is a little shaky, seeing as they're demons and can really only be trusted so far, we finally get to see where JF Brink is trying to take Zack. He's not just going to be a warrior, but he's going to be the Lord of Atwood Port. And yes, this is one of the most commonly used tropes in the litRPG space. You see the main protagonists building their settlements into a city, into what it usually tends to be a country in some cases, and it can be a little tiresome. In this case, I don't love it, but I definitely don't hate it. The reason I'm saying that is Zack is really pushing a lot of the administrative duties off and is really just focusing on becoming more powerful, and we as readers aren't getting bogged down with the day-to-day feel of running a town. Speaking of getting more powerful, I am a big fan of the ladder system, where we get to see how Zack compares up to every other heavy hitter human on the Earth. Yes, it's definitely evident that he is the most powerful. Super Brother Man is on a mission, though. He's getting powerful so that he can protect his family, his father and his sister. Jumping into a new direction, I really appreciate that the author made Zack a defier instead of a cultivator, seeing as the system threw him aside and put him into a situation that was all but impossible. But that's what defiers are, and he is definitely taking advantage of the title. Yes, we really do appreciate underdog stories. It's not a big shock there, and he's gone in this one book from being the underdog to being at the top of the food chain. And we're gonna have to see how the others in this world really stack up against him if he cannot keep this high pace of leveling up. I do think Zack will eventually become an apostate, which are beings of such great power and authority that they can affect the system. And once he gets to that level, I do think that he is going to change the system in a big way. I really do wonder if the giant axeman that he had seen in a vision when pursuing the Tao is going to be him in the future, or just a potential guidance or mentor for him. The author has a lot of room to play with this, and I think that JF Brink, the first Defier, is only going to impress us. I really do hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I'm very much looking forward to finishing book 2, and that's going to be next up on the docket. Please feel free to let me know what y'all thought about my predictions, and let's try not to spoil too much for those who may not have read it and also checked out this video. With that though, I appreciate y'all's time, and I hope that y'all keep reading.